Good morning. Hey, Martin. I don't know if you're still here because I always get ready to go live and then I think of something else that I want to do and then I go do it and then I come back and people are like, hi. So sorry about that, but I do hope that you are not hungover this morning as I am not because I gave up the whole New Year's Eve parties a long time ago. Um, so I am going to talk today about something that is really far outside of our whole wheelhouse with true crime and that kind of stuff. I wanted to talk just a little bit about this idea about New Year's resolutions because everybody makes them, right? I mean, it's kind of like just something that you naturally feel like you're supposed to do or you have to do, and then the question is, how many people actually follow through? Hey, Jennifer, how are you? Happy New Year. No hangover for Jennifer. Yay. Way to go. Yeah, that makes us the smarter people today, right? Okay. Good, Martin. Good. Hey, voice for the voiceless. How are you? Happy New Year to you. So, yeah, not a New Year's resolution, but a hope for the new year is that Barry Morphew will answer for what he has done to his family. So that is something that is hopefully something we'll encounter for 2024. Hi, DB. Happy New Year. Everybody's comparing, DB, if we're hungover or we're not hungover. I myself, Jennifer, Martin, we are not hungover. So how are you feeling, DB? So I'm going to tell you, uh, allegedly with Brittany J last night. Oh my gosh, they had such a big panel and they went so late into the night. Um, I did not. I was asleep by about 10 o'clock last night, and then when all of the fireworks and everything started going off, my poor dogs just went bananas. That especially especially my little Australian Shepherd, she was just terrified and shaken. And when you've got three giant dogs jumping all over you, you can't sleep. So I woke up. I had to get them calmed down because they were weird, and then I was awake. So there you go. Voice for the voiceless. No hangover. Good for you. We are the mature and intelligent group, right? We may not have as much fun as the others, but at least we are, operating on all pistons this morning. So, yeah. I can remember the first time that we did not go out for New Year's. We didn't go out, and I thought, I feel like I should go out. It felt like something. It felt like there was a disturbance in the force. And so he said, no, let's don't really feel like it. Don't want to waste any money. Let's, avoid the whole big party thing. But when I woke up the next morning and I was like ready to go and it was a great day, and I was like, this is a better, this is a better way to do New Year's. So had fun, got a full night's sleep. There you go, voices. Absolutely. Yeah. So I ended up, because the dogs were being so stupid about all the explosions and the lights and stuff. I was awake. And so I did stay awake till about 3 or 4 in the morning, listening to, allegedly with Brittany, all her panel guests. Just, they mostly were talking about the Savannah Soto murder in that did happen here in Texas. It is an incredible amount. It's one of the most horrific crimes, I think, for me. I mean, it rates right up there with Idaho 4, because you had this baby that they were actually on their way that morning for her to go have the baby. And it's terrible. But let me get back on track here. So I was going to talk about the delusional state of New Year's resolutions, and why do we make them, and then do they work? And the truth is, no, they don't work. For one issue with New Year's resolution. So the top New Year's resolution in the United States, as well as I think England and maybe maybe Scotland was included. The number one resolution, of course, is what? I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lose 100 pounds. I'm going to lose 20 pounds, whatever lose that last 5 pounds. So the idea is some type of fitness goal, whether it's losing weight or it's, I'm going to go to the gym or I'm going to run a 5K or something related to physical fitness. That really is the number one resolution that year after year consistently is the one that shows up for everybody. And year after year, nobody achieves it. They just keep gaining weight or they just keep not getting strong and it just keeps going. And so there is a big body of researchers that look at things like this, like what are some of the factors that interfere with us reaching our goals? And two specific things is number one, and this one makes sense, is, they tell you, well, you should do SMART goals. And SMART goals are, everybody's heard about them if you've worked in business or anything like that. They're how to set your goal, because a resolution is a goal, basically. And so when you make your goals, there's some very specific points and elements to that goal that you have to pay attention to. For example, they should be very specific goals, not just in general, I want to lose weight, but be very specific about that weight loss. It should be measurable. Like you should be able to look at it week to week or day to day to see if you met that particular progression toward your goals. I don't like this overall, I want to lose 5 pounds or I want to lose 50 pounds or whatever. I don't think that is a real achievable pattern. I think you're much more likely not to focus on a number on the scale, but to focus on how did you eat that day? And then did you drink enough water? And did you move your body? And so if you make those goals measurable and you make them very small in time frame, you're far more likely to achieve them and get some kind of feedback. If you say I'm going to lose 3 pounds a week, you got to wait 7 days, and that's an awful long time for you to get demoralized and to fall off, your plan. But if you say to yourself every day, I'm limiting my calories to 1,200, going to make sure I walk 3 miles, and I'm going to drink, my 8 bottles of water or whatever it happens to be, and you write it all down, then you've got a pretty good judge, like, wow, today I did awesome. I was right on target and I didn't waver. Or, oh my gosh, that strawberry cheesecake was delicious. And I'm going to pay the price tomorrow by walking 4 miles instead of 3 miles. So it's got to be achievable. You also have to write it down. You have to have develop a plan and write it down. It also has to be relevant to you. It needs to have some kind of meaning. For younger people, they'll say, well, I want to lose weight because I want to look good. I want to look good in my bikini. Okay. But the reality is that, our appearance is not often the most motivating, relevant in terms of relevance. Looking good is not always the best motivator. Usually the best motivator is usually something related to survival, if you can imagine that, because survival is, our number one instinct, right? And so whatever goal it is that you're setting, whether it's for your business or it's for your home or your personal health, if you can find a way to make it about survival, you're a lot more likely to achieve it. If it's related to, well, I better lose this 20 pounds because I don't want to die of cancer. That's a whole different type of motivation than, oh, I got my little yellow polka dot bikini and I'm going to be looking all sassy. Because then you're like, wait a minute, if I got an extra 5 or 10 pounds, I could be sassy and buxom, right? So you kind of play with that a little bit. But if it's about survival, if it's about, well, I need to take these steps for the growth of my business in 2024, because, the reality is that inflation is destroying everyone's bottom line. And I don't want to lose my business. I've worked really hard. I've put a lot of time into it. So I need to try to do something extra to counter the effects of inflation. And so here's my goal to do that. And here's my plan. And it's specific. I can measure it day to day, week to week. It's achievable and realistic. It has relevance to long-term survival of my company. And also I've set time limits on when I'm going to assess my progress towards that goal. So that's smart. It's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant, and it also is time bound. So you know what you're working on. So when you do that, according to one group of research, when you do SMART goals, whether it's personal improvement, whether it's business, whether it's, living a sober lifestyle, whatever, growing your YouTube channel, whatever it is, if you set SMART goals and you write down your plan, you accounting for the S, M, A, R, and T, then you're at a dramatically increased likelihood of achieving that goal or those goals. There's another group of researchers that look at things a little different. And they're like, well, this whole academic endeavor, this is all great and fine and dandy. And yes, it's true that we do know that there are certain types of behaviors that increase our chance of, success and learning and all that. But we can't get away from the fact that we're animals. We're animals. We have biology, and our neurological system drives everything that we do. And so what do we have to learn from our just basic brain and us magically doing things just because we do them that way? And so that particular group, that happens to be the group I'm very interested in. Those are the research papers that I'm more likely to read. Andrew Huberman, he does the Huberman podcast on YouTube. He's that group. He's that biopsychologist, neurologist who says that people do things the way they do them because they're animals, because there's something neurologically, there's something in their biology that is driving them toward whatever this thing is that they're doing. And you have the greatest chance of success in changing that, disturbing behavior if you understand the biology that is underpinning that behavior. And so that particular group, talking about New Year's resolutions and setting goals and goal attainment, that particular group came up with some really interesting research around 2015, 2016, I think. Don't quote me on that, but my memory, I think it was somewhere maybe around, may have been a little bit earlier, maybe 2013. They came up with some really interesting research. And that was something as simple as stating your goals. Like if I just tell people, because what do you always do on New Year's Day? You have black-eyed peas, you have cabbage. That's supposed to somehow magically, if you cut the head off the live chicken, somehow eating cabbage and black-eyed peas is going to make your New Year prosperous. It's not real, but it is something that, the old folks always did. And maybe it's ritualistic and it does set them up for success because they've taken action. They've gone to the trouble of making black-eyed peas and cabbage. So maybe that means they're highly motivated to tend to the crops and make their business successful. So if you're from the South, we do that. We eat black-eyed peas and cabbage on New Year's Day so that we have great crops in the coming year. But we sit around then and we eat and we talk about, well, what's your New Year's resolution? What's your plan for improvement this year? How are you going to do it? Have you made steps so far? Like, what are the changes you're going to make? And that is every bit, if you will live in the South and maybe other areas of the country, but what I'm familiar with, if you live in the South, the old folks, that small town America, that was the thing you did on New Year's Day. And, unfortunately, this research that came out of this group of bioneurologists, uh, they found that in this 2015, 2016 research, they found basically there's four type of people when you're talking about achievement and goal achievement or goal attainment. And I'm gonna break down the four different types in just a second, but the big overriding lesson from the research was this: don't tell people what your goals are. You're like, what? Why? Everybody does that, right? Like if you're even with business, if you're going to get a loan, a business loan for your company, you're going to go to the bank and they're going to say, can we see your business plan? And what is a business plan? It's just a set of goals. It just tells what your goals for growth are and how you plan on funding it and what your outcome measures are so that you can assess and from year to year or quarter to quarter to find out if you're reaching that level of achievement and attainment. And now we got a whole bunch of Andrew Hubermans over there that are saying, no, we've been doing it wrong. You can't tell anyone. I don't know how the banks are going to feel about that, but for me and you, just the normal people in the world, there's an awful lot to learn from that, right? It's kind of interesting. One would think, I think that we would say to ourselves, but if you tell people, aren't you holding yourself accountable, right? And apparently not. We are wrong. Those of us that had that thought, we're completely wrong. And so the reality is that you're far more likely, and this empirical good, controlled research, I mean, it was scientific all the way. The reality is that if you don't tell people what your resolution is, you don't tell people what your goals are, you're far more likely to achieve them. Now, when you do research and you write up your research report afterwards and it gets published, and all that, one important section for your article is that you have to account for the results in your study. There's in any study that you do, there's always some unexpected outcome, like something you didn't consider, something you didn't think about, or something that went completely against your hypotheses and just simply didn't turn out like you thought that it might. It is during that section that you have to account for. You have to have like this sort of, well, maybe this happened and maybe that happened. And you're kind of guessing and you're kind of, expanding on the measured results of the research. And you're trying to ask yourself, how did I get this wrong? Or what does this unexpected outcome mean? Are there paths of future research that valuable from this project that I've completed? And so that, that particular project started this quest for knowledge on why. With overwhelmingly, without a doubt, the statistics reflected this was no problem in power. This was actual measured results. The group of people that did not tell anybody what their goal was, that didn't tell anyone what they were trying to achieve, not only did they work longer on their goal, but when they assessed their progress, they were far more realistic about how close they were to achieving their ultimate goal. And given additional time, they overwhelmingly did achieve it. Those people that told the researchers what their goal was, they did not invest additional time. They were far more likely to fall out of the research and say, no, this is too hard, or this is bigger than it should have been, or lie. Yes. Y'all know who you are. The group of people that would lie and say, oh yeah, I did achieve my goal. This is what I wanted. I may not have voiced it completely, but this was my ultimate outcome. And it really wasn't. So the question is why? Why is it that if you don't tell people what your goal is, why does that increase likelihood of you achieving it? And ultimately, all of these brilliant neurologists and neuropsychologists, they all kind of said the same thing. And they said, the brain, and you guys have heard me say it a million times, the brain is pretty naive and dumb for it to be such a brilliant, intricate organ, right? I mean, it's a very complicated machine that really all of AI has tried to emulate the human brain, and a lot of the neural networks that have been set up, the circuits that have been set up for AI are kind of a physical representation of what they think the brain is doing in memory and memory retrieval, memory consolidation and memory retrieval. But it's in fact a machine. And so because of that, it lacks discernment on a level that our higher cognition is capable of. So the brain itself, sensory wise, not higher cortex thinking, but the sensory input itself, the sensory input is simply believed. It just believes it. If I stand in front of a mirror, this again, research. If I stand in front of a mirror and I say, Jules, you look marvelous. You are the most beautiful, intelligent, wonderful creature on the face of the planet. And you have so much to go out and offer the world. And grab your confidence, girl, and get out there with your goals, and you take control of the world and you make it happen. If I stand in front of a mirror and I say that to myself, well, my husband may commit me to the mental hospital, but I am definitely going to walk out of that bathroom uplifted, my head held high. I'm going to be like Jordan Peterson's lobsters. I'm going to be like, bitches, get out of my way. Here I come. Right? Going to be snapping my lobster claws and standing upright and feeling like, I'm ready to take on the world. I can do anything. I'm going to work 12 hours today. And that whole 12 hours, I'm going to be amazing. I'm going to be just working and achieving and doing everything I need to do. Because me standing there looking into the mirror and saying all these positive, uplifting things about myself is no different than someone else standing in front of me and saying the very same thing to me. If my ears discern it, if my ears hear it and perceive it, my brain goes, oh, look, we're awesome. Let's file that over here in the awesome category. Right? Okay. So, hi, Bling. Good morning. Happy New Year to you. David, 420. Good morning. Or are we still morning? We are. Happy New Year to you, David. Ceresia, Happy New Year. And Daisy, Happy New Year's to you guys. We're talking about the delusional state of New Year's resolutions today. And are they realistic? And would you be better off to just set some good goals? And don't tell anyone about your goals. Okay. All right. So I'm going to hurry and get through this and finish this because it's pretty boring stuff, right? All right. So neurologically, perceptually, your sensory input, your brain is a machine, and it's, stupid in, stupid out, right? Or brilliant in, brilliant out. So if you put positive messages into your brain believes it. It's just a very simple process, and the brain doesn't argue back. Kind of like Martin and AK and their Barry Morphew data. It is what it is, right? You can't argue with it. The facts are there. So perceptually, where my senses are concerned, I'm glad, David. It's kind of boring for some people. Hey, Jackie Blue, Happy New Year to you. So whatever your brain hears, your brain believes, or whatever your brain sees, it believes as fact. And it doesn't matter if you are the one that is saying it or doing it, or if someone else is saying it or doing it, right? So if I tell myself, I am the most brilliant psychologist that has ever walked the face of this planet, if I say that to me, or if my boss, I'm the boss, but if my boss says it to me, or if Jordan Peterson says, you, Dr. Jules, you're the most brilliant psychologist ever to walk the planet, my brain believes that equally. It doesn't matter if it comes from the brilliant Jordan Peterson or if it comes from little old me. My brain believes it. And I've got benefit. I have a time limited benefit from that, where I'm going to be standing up, clapping my lobster claws and taking on the world and winning. All right. Remember Charlie Sheen? Winning. Okay. So one thing we know is from research, if you don't tell people what your goals are, you're far more likely to achieve them. You're much more likely to put in additional time. You're much more likely to assess your progress towards those goals and be accurate about it. And they believe, the researchers posit, that it is this function of the brain being a machine. And that if you say, hey, well, let me just say to Martin, hey, Happy New Year's, calm in the chaos. Good to see you. If I say to Martin, my goal this year is to, let me think of something. Because I'm not going to do like the whole, I'm going to grow my YouTube channel, because why would I want to grow it? We have the greatest group of people here, right, as it is. Anytime you bring new people in, it always disrupts the order, and we're a great group, so don't want to do that. What would be a goal? Okay, here's one. I hesitate to sort of say it, but I'm going I'm going to. So there is this this guy that was recently found guilty of murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and he's serving life in prison in Florida. And his name is Charlie Adelson. Some of you may know the case. Blaine knows the case. I am convinced that this guy is innocent. I think his mother 100% is involved in it. I think his sister did it. I think Katie Magbanoa did it. And I think I know how it happened, but I don't think Charlie Adelson had any idea what was going on. I think he was just a clueless, bumbling brother who was caught up in his own little world, and he kind of got jerked around by these, really complicated women in his life. And I really believe that he's innocent. Maybe he knew after the fact, but I don't think he knew before the fact. I'm convinced of that. And so if my New Year's resolution is, I am going to help Charlie Adelson prove his innocence, right? If I make that an open goal, and I come on my channel and I tell everybody that is my goal for 2024, is I'm going to find the information that will prove that Charlie was innocent, right? If I make that my goal and my brain hears that, then because of the way that the brain works as a machine, part of me has already done that, has already started the process. Just by saying out loud, hey, Martin, I'm going to prove that Charlie Adelson is an innocent man. My brain hears that and goes, oh, look, we've proven Charlie Adelson's an innocent man. And there's like this sense of satisfaction. There's just like this good feeling, like, look what I'm doing. This is This is a good accomplishment. I hadn't done a damn thing. All I've done is just flap my jaws and just said, ooh, let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Now, here comes the next question. How many of you know super talkers? Do you guys know who or what super talkers are? You know the kind, right? Oh, I'm going to be doing this, and then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do. And then you talk to them a week later and you go, so how did that go? How did that work out? Was was everything great? If you finished your kitchen remodel? Oh my gosh, no. Let me tell you everything that happened to interfere with me getting something done. Blah, blah, blah. Right? Somehow by voicing that what your goal is, you have received an element of satisfaction that you've actually done that thing. Now, that's not from me. This is from the researchers that ran upon this perplexing information. This is part of their areas of future research. This is their position for what are some of our choices that we might account for this curious reality. But without a doubt, it is a reality that if you tell people your goals, you tell people what you want, you tell people what you're going to do, you've already muted the inspirational, motivational power behind that. You've already reduced it because the perceptually, whatever goes in, the brain believes. It's this neurological reality that makes it possible for us to watch Home Alone, for example, and laugh, or to be able to watch, white noise and be terrified and scared, to be able to read a book and cry. We're not crazy people. We're not sitting around reading books and weeping because we're delusional and schizophrenic. We do it because there's something in our brain that allows us to experience an element of reality that in fact is not reality at all. But our brain thinks it is when we're talking about the sensory perceptual experience, correct? David laughed. Okay, well, maybe we are a little crazy. All right. Voicing what your goals are or what your resolutions are, you're removing the power from them. And people that voice what they're going to do, what their goals are, they inevitably fail. That is empirical research. You can't argue with it. Okay. Just like you cannot argue with Barry Morphew's truck location. Right, Barry? All right. So 4 kinds of people. There's super talkers, people that are always telling you what they're going to do. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to get licensed. I'm going to do this. And then, 5 years later, you're like, so did you ever get a license? Are you working clinical? Are you private? Like, have you started your own business? What have you done? Well, no, I'm still doing this or doing that and hadn't quite got around to it, but I will. I'll be finishing that engineering degree, next year. And you're like, well, have you been working on that engineering degree like 17 years? Okay. I'm not putting anyone down. I'm saying that people that talk all the time and tell you what they're going to do, they're much less likely to actually do it. And the researcher's position is maybe it's because their brain sort of hears that and thinks, aha, I've already started the process. That's a good feeling. I'm going to help a guy go free. I feel so good about myself. And I haven't done anything. haven't done anything. All right. So there's the super talkers, the people that they talk a lot. They tell you what they're going to do. They invest very little action, but they tell everyone. So there's no doing. It's just all talk, right? All right. Then there are those um, maybe they're the depressed among us, but they're those people, they don't ever take action, but they also don't ever tell anybody, right? They just sort of go through their lives quietly, taking care of their responsibilities and watching other people. I know people in my own family who have been very happy. They have not, they don't have a lot of motivation. They don't have a lot of, ambition and whatnot. As long as there's enough money for groceries and paying the electricity bill, their preference is to sit and watch TV and live a vicarious type of existence, right? For other people, they could not, they couldn't tolerate this life of no action, no accomplishment, no dreams of their own, no sense of motivation or urgency to achieve. For some of us, that would be it would be a terrible lifestyle. But for other people, they do enjoy that. They are content with that, and there's not anything wrong with it. The third type of people, these are the people that are these are the Donald Trumps of the world. I'm not taking a political position. I'm not rendering approval of Trump or anything like that. But he kind of is he's kind of the epitome of this particular third type of person. And the Donald Trumps of the world, they take action. They're go-getters. They're constantly making things happen. They're on the go, and they're also telling everyone about it. Okay, let me tell you what I did. Let me tell you this greatness I achieved. So is he a braggart? Sure. But is he all talk and no action? Absolutely not. So this third group of people, very often these are your CEOs. Believe it or not, I've known an awful lot of doctors who arguably they're the most the doctors in our Western culture have achieved some of the highest level of performance, but they can develop a godlike complex, and so you will very often, if you know one of these people, they have definitely invested a great deal of time and energy and money to achieve and to reach a certain station in life. They've worked really, really hard. Nobody gave it to them. They've been willing to do more work than the average bear is willing to do. They reap the benefits financially and otherwise, but they also can be quite humble and quiet about it. Like some of the people that I've known that were worth the most money, surgeons, or chief of staff at a hospital, these people are making millions of dollars. They're worth millions. 152 million is for one of the people I'm thinking of specifically. They're the most, you never hear about their money. You never hear about what they do for a living. When you socialize with them, they tell jokes and they're fun and or they're very quiet and they don't really engage much. So these are people that are all action, work hard, making things happen, but very, very humble about it, right? So there's two kinds of real take action. Take action and tell everyone you know, look how great I am. Or take action and be very humble and very quiet about it. And then there's two groups of non-action. Those are the super talkers, gonna, and then never do, as compared to those people that they don't take any action and they don't tell anyone. They're just kind of very sedate and quiet, on their own. They're listeners, right? And they're happy with that. So it's interesting to me that these people that tend to take action but tell no one, they do tend to have the highest level. If we use income, net worth, they do tend to be the receivers of the greatest outcome. So taking action and being quiet about it seems to be the path to ultimate success. All right. So as you make your New Year's resolutions or set goals for 2024, remember some of this. Don't mute the motivation underlying the goal by telling people about it, unless you absolutely have to, in terms of like a business plan or being accountable to your bank for funding and finance and whatnot. If it's your family and friends, don't talk so much about what you are doing. Wait until you've achieved your goal and then say, people, I have an announcement. This is what I have been working on since 2023. And today, June the 9th, 2024, we have achieved our goals. And then people are like, well, I didn't know we had goals. Like, what have you been working on? And that is a very sweet moment. That is a great and grand moment. I don't know how many people I've known so in psychology, you earn a PhD, they call you doctor, and there's things you can do. You can be a college professor or whatever. You can also work clinically under the license of another psychologist who is licensed. So, and what that means is that you can still be a PhD, you can still be a psychologist, can't really call yourself a licensed psychologist, but you work, and then the licensed psychologist oversees your work, and then you sign off on it to say, I watched, this was up to snuff, everything was good, and I take responsibility for this other person's work. At some point in one's career, you just reach this point of, well, I want to be the one who's filing insurance and making money. And I don't want to make money for other people. I want to make money for me. So I want to work independently. I want to set up a private practice. I want to work in the hospital, whatever. I need to be licensed. And that's a whole nother process that's separate from your education and degree and all that. And so you only get to take your license and exam a couple of times. If you fail it, you fail it. You'll never be licensed at that point. It's very expensive to take it, so you don't want to take it multiple times. And it's very difficult. It's a big endeavor. There's a high failure rate for people that have attempted to become licensed and not been able to jump through all the hoops and whatnot. And so you do run across people that talk quite a bit about, well, next year I'm going to be getting licensed and I'll have my license by December. And I'm always just like, oh, don't do that. Just do the work, get prepared, set the appointment to go take your test, earn your hours. And then when you've done it, when you've gotten that little piece of paper that says I passed, then tell everybody I've completed my licensing and here I am, right? That's a lot. And it turns out the research now supports that progression. And that is, when you have an important goal, when there's something that matters to you, it's relevant to your life and your safety and your health and your happiness, just do the work. Don't go telling everyone about it, because just the act of speaking it, your ears hear that. And then there's a message in your brain that says, we are halfway there. We don't have to work so hard. And that is just not true. All right. And so don't tell people about your goals. Don't create a sense of delusion that you're, halfway to achieving your goals. And learn to set SMART goals, write them down, have your own private little notebook Have your own private little notebook where you write out your SMART goals. And then every single day you go through and say, today, on this day, did I achieve what I had laid out? Yes or no? And then the next day, did I achieve it? Yes or no? And every day you roll over what you didn't achieve on Monday, you roll it over to Tuesday. And keep quiet. Don't tell people what your goal is. It's that goal is between you and your notebook. No one else needs to know about it. My notebook is green for a reason. All right. So, I'm done. Okay. So let me see how many people did I run off? Did y'all get completely bored to death? It's not the excitement of true crime, is it? All right. David 420 needs a notebook. And now get a green one if your goals are related to. Okay. Be symbolic in what you do. Nancy Drew, happy New Year to you, my friend. I know. Shh. Hi, Cericio. Welcome. Right now, as we speak, poor old Charlie, he's in his prison cell. He's going, oh God, she told everybody what her goal was. No, I'm kidding. he has no idea who I am. Okay. Zelda says, I'll get too tired from rolling over. Okay, green. Nancy Drew is on the case. Green is prosperity. This is true. I also have a pink notebook, and my pink notebook is related to my personal care, like making sure, am I being mindful? Am I taking times during the day to just sit in the moment? Right? Oh, look, Martin loves green. Me too, Martin. I have a pink notebook that is related to my, my goals toward personal fulfillment. And because there's a lot more to life than money, obviously. Although I will say this, money doesn't buy happiness, but it definitely makes it possible to endure the misery, right? It makes it easier to endure the misery. Me too, Nancy Drew. I'm a notebook fiend. This is a different notebook for a whole different like I'm ready for another blue notebook, but this is for something that I have to keep up with that is boring. I don't like it at all. But yeah, I can't get away from notebooks, and I do quite a bit, in the computer. I do, but isn't it something about like having your written words? Like, isn't there something about having them at your fingertips? There's something for me. I can have exactly the same thing in the computer, but that connection just doesn't seem to, be there. So I do have my pink notebook and my green notebook are they're constant. They're always with me. So if, like when I was flying, my pink and my green notebook went with me. So to Colorado. Jennifer Lawton has a clipboard, not a lot of dreams. There you go. And that is the point, right, Jennifer? Are we doing just pie in the sky dreaming, or are we really wanting progress? Like, is this a game plan? Like, how are you going to win the Super Bowl? Right. And it needs to be concrete. It needs to be something that is very specific. I need to know how I'm going to measure when I'll know that I'm making progress or when I'm falling behind my plan. It also has to be something that is attainable, something I can actually achieve. Let's be honest. So I did evaluations for a long time for a surgeon who did bariatric surgery. 1 minute. I did evaluations for a long time for a guy that did bariatric surgery. And these patients were required to lose a certain amount of weight before they could get approval for the surgery. And the surgery is not for faint of heart. I don't know if you guys have ever known anybody that's had one of these types of weight loss surgeries. But it can cause an enormous amount of psychiatric discomfort. There's a lot of reasons for that, and I'm not going to, go off on a wild tangent and talk about that today. But we worked really hard to figure out why these people are told they maintain their weight for a year, okay? And then they finally get their appointment with the bariatric surgeon, and they come in to us for the evaluation, and you can see their medical records, and they've been maintaining their weight within 5 or 6 pounds. They've been maintaining it for a year or more, right? And then you start working with them on, okay, the doctor wants you to lose 6% of your body weight, or 10% or 20% or whatever. For some of that is for safety. Some of it is to make sure that they're going to be able to develop different coping skills other than eating, other than food. And then you start talking to them about this. They come back, they've gained 10 pounds when they're supposed to be now reducing. And you think, how? Like, it's not magical. That's 100% psychiatric. What are they doing? Why are they doing it? And so we changed what we were doing. We started a different program. We had control groups. We compared the traditional with our new program, and then we had a control group. And what we found out was this: when we had patients that were being required to lose a certain percentage of weight before they were allowed to do their surgery, we did not talk to them about food and diet and weight loss. We immediately came, and we didn't say you have to lose 16% of your body weight. We started with, okay, the doctor wants you walking 10,000 steps a day, or the doctor wants you increasing steps each day. We're going to do a week where we get a baseline, and then every single day you're going to add 100 additional steps every day. So by the end of the week, you got 700 more per day than what your baseline was, right? So we began to make it only about steps. Just they're moving their feet, nothing else. Just move it. How do you move your feet? Okay. Those people were coming in losing weight left and right. And the thought was then, well, because it become that's that whole problem of, junk in, junk out. That whatever you put in the brain, that's what the outcome is first. First the brain experiences it, then the body follows. I don't know how else to say it. So if we start and we tell people, okay, here's the foods that you can eat, high in protein, low in calories. Here's the food you can eat, and here's your meal plan for the week. Good luck. Well, what if I just put into their brain? I just put into their brain, eat. Here's your food, eat it. And what happens over the course of the week? Because they're thinking about food and they're thinking about eating, it goes up. Join the Huberman Lab. He'll teach you all about it. So instead of using the power of suggestion, telling the brain what to do, not what not to do, I said, well, look, wait a minute. Let's restate. We're not asking them. We're telling them, don't eat this, don't eat that. We've tried, eat only this, eat only that, but still it's all on eating, which is what we need to get away from. What do we need them to do? We need them to move their bodies more. We need them to be active. That's what we really ultimately need. If people are out walking, they're not eating chocolate chip cookies, right? If you're out walking, or if you're at the gym, you're not sitting down to eat spaghetti and meatballs. You're moving. And so I said, let's make that the goal. Let's change the lodestar to not to food. Let's change the lodestar to movement, and let's make it super simple. Let's just do steps. It's easily measured and attainable, because all you got to do is put, a little wristband on that will count your steps every day, or carry your phone with you or whatever. So let's change this. let's take a group of people and not give them a diet plan or food at all. I just want them to increase the number of steps. And that's all I'm going to look at. That's all I care about. And if that's all I'm looking at, and they know that, I say to them, I'm looking at your steps, 100 extra steps per day above your baseline. Well, when they walk out of my office, guess what they're going to be looking at, thinking about? Oh my gosh, how am I going to get my extra steps? I know, instead of parking close to Walmart or Target or wherever, I'm going to try to park further out in the parking lot, because then I get more steps. Also, here was another one. A lady used to, back in the old days, all of our notes and everything was processed in a medical file, an actual file in your hand. And so if you saw 8 or 9 patients in a day, you had 8 or 9 files. And the filing room, because you couldn't keep files in your office because they had to be kept locked up safe. But the filing room was way down a hallway that was 2 or 3 floors below you, way down this long hallway at the very, very end. And then you turn all your files in, they would check them in, and then you could go home for the day. Most people, because it was such a long walk, most people would wait to the end of the day and turn all their files in at one time. One of the ladies that was going through this process, though, where I have to add steps during the day, but I work 8 hours a day and my job is to sit at my desk and work, she started a different process. And that process was process the file, write the notes, and then return that one file to the file room. And then go back to your office and do the second file. And when it's all finished, walk to the file room and turn it in. And when the third file was finished, walk. So that added a couple of hundred steps in one day, not in the whole week. Another person that I knew, when they would walk, they were doing the whole walking the stairs instead of the elevator. But then they even started where they would walk up half the flight, turn around and go back down to the landing, and then walk the rest of the flight. So they doubled those steps without really a big investment in time. So the brain, once you begin to sort of figure out these little nuances of the brain that most of us don't really know, it can be pretty easy to figure out tricks to just get healthy in general and not really require a big change in lifestyle. So, all right. So I said I was going to be done talking about the boring stuff, and I fell right back into it, didn't I? Sorry about that. Calming the chaos. One of my specialty areas is eating disorders. Absolutely calming the chaos. One of our YouTubers, I'm so worried about her. So worried. And now she's gotten in with a bad group of people, I fear. Vision boards, visualize your goals. Absolutely, Nancy Drew. I love vision boards. And in some ways, the notebooks are kind of like my version of a vision board. If people were to get a hold of my notebooks, they would see like at the beginning, it's super messy and it just looks like I'm doodling. And then as they kind of turn the pages, then they begin to see things get really organized. And then finally, it's a real prose. It's a real narrative that's written out orderly outline form, and usually then make it like a chart that I can check off what I'm doing. Again, a vision board, as opposed to telling people what your vision board is and what it's doing, it's still getting your brain organized. It's getting you looking to the future, and it's causing you to sort of manipulate those goals to a point that they become an action plan, right? Very interesting. Not what I was expecting. Well, I hope that you were not bored, Martin. More therapists could specialize in eating disorders. There's a great need out there. There is a great need out there, and it's been my experience trying to find people that would help specifically with eating disorders. A lot of therapists are afraid to try to work in that area, because these are patients that realistically are, it's parasuicidal behaviors, right? In some instances. Um, and it can be very frightening for people that are not confident with their skills and their knowledge base. And so that is an area that needs so many more people working in the area, but it is frightening. Yeah, it's also very difficult to find people to work with people that have psychosis for the same reason. They're frightened by it. They don't understand a lot of it. And you do have to be dedicated to educating yourself. Your continuing education is paramount when you're working with eating disorders or psychosis. Not that those two are the same. I'm not saying that those are similar. I'm saying from the therapist's point of view, they are frightened of those particular diagnoses. Would you say that's accurate in your experience, Calming the Chaos? Do you think people are a little bit afraid of eating disorders or psychosis? Neurologically, the act of physically writing it down reinforces it in your brain. Absolutely, Nancy. Yes, I guess one of my goals is to inspire more therapists to treat eating disorders. Yeah. And I think to do that, Calming the Chaos, I think the path to doing that successfully is to do it through education. If the reason that you have people avoiding that particular population of patients is fear, the fear is not of the patient. The fear is, I don't know what I need to know. I'm not competent to work with a group of patients that are really in that much need. And that scares me. So if you want to attract people to doing that, offer the education. And if they feel competent, if they feel like they have that knowledge base, they'll jump in with both feet to try to help. People become therapists, licensed social workers, licensed professional counselors. People do that because they want to help. They're not avoiding because they don't want to help these people. They're avoiding because they fear themselves that they don't have the knowledge that they need. What is the opposite of delusion? Is it illusion? No. Isn't an illusion actually more of a synonym to delusion, Noreen Thacker? I think that's a synonym. I think the opposite of delusion is reality, right? If I walk around and I tell myself that I'm Elvis, reincarnated, and here's the reasons why I believe I'm Elvis, that's not reality, right? So the opposite of delusion is reality. A lot of universities tell grad students not to work with them. For what's the logic in that? Calming the Chaos. That's pretty terrifying. That is a group of people. Look, so let me so I am a behaviorist at heart. I fall in the Andrew Huberman frame of mind with people and why people do the things that they do. And that is why, behaviorally, I believe everybody does what they do because they learned it and it helped them get what they were trying to get. It doesn't get much more simple than that. What is the opposite of an illusion? Reality. If I have the illusion of wealth, if I have an illusion that I am a millionaire, I may wear the right clothes and talk in a funny way, but it doesn't change the reality of my bank account numbers. But if I look at my bank account and there's $1 million there and I'm wearing overalls and saying, hey, y'all, how y'all doing today? What's the reality? The reality is I'm still a millionaire. So that is my next answer. They say refer them out to a specialist so they come to me. Well, yes, that goes right back to the education portion, people feeling competent. I do believe in any profession, you always start out as a generalist, right? In any profession. And then as you work and you grow and you do research, you do your contingent education, you have certain patients that come into your life. Through this growth that happens year after, or hopefully growth that happens year after year after year, you find yourself sort of gravitating toward a certain patient. But doesn't that then automatically suggest that there are situations that you sort of find yourself moving away from? And I do think that human beings follow the path of least resistance. I mean, it's just like a horse. The best way to train a horse to behave is not to beat on them with a whip. It's to just make them run in a round pen until they start looking at you. And then when they start looking at you, you quit making them run. And they're like, oh, thank God she's not making me run. All I got to do is just make sure I'm looking at this crazy lady. And then she's not going to make me run. And all of a sudden now I have a horse that when I pull up to the pasture, I don't have to like get out grain and call them and chase them around for an hour. I just stand there and they go, oh my God, she's here. I better go and look at her so she doesn't make me run. Right. So animals, we don't want to put in a lot of work. We naturally follow the path of least resistance. It's natural to us. So we get ourselves ready and motivated to go to college, go to school, get our education, get our license. We work, and we look at that as an end point. And those people that do that, that look at graduation or licensing as the end point, goal achieved, those people will never find a specialty. Those people will take the path of least resistance. At that point, they'll sit in their little office, they'll load up their appointment book, and they'll just process people in all day long, never stopping to say, am I fulfilled in what I'm doing? Am I offering to this person the very best I have to offer? Those people that are not content with that lifestyle of just running people through like cattle, those people will eventually develop a specialty. They'll be attracted to certain conditions or certain patients or certain types of research, and they will find themselves pursuing it and they become expert. But what about all of those conditions that you were not interested in? Why were you interested in them? 9 times out of 10 is because you felt like you didn't know that area, or maybe you never worked with that particular type of patient, that particular condition. So you had no reason to educate yourself on it. And so I think in those areas where the condition is very difficult and that the patients are really, really suffering and struggling, those tend to be the areas that people move away from because it goes against their own path of least resistance. I had someone tell me one time they wanted to work in private practice, they wanted beautiful furniture, and they only wanted to work with people that had ADHD. So they want a path of least resistance, something pretty simple, right? It's the same reason why it's very, very difficult to find people to work at Shriners Hospital or to work at St. Jude's. These are little kids that are really in serious condition. It's not a soft, cushy job. It is very difficult, and it's difficult for the nurse or the therapist or the physician. It's hard for their own internal struggles, not just providing treatment, as opposed to, private practice in the woodlands, right? It's different, right? And prescriptions for antibiotics doesn't just, tear your soul out like it does going to work and 3 of your patients died overnight. That's a different, thing. So if you're trying to attract people to a certain treatment, you want to educate them. You want to build those people up to confidence that, yes, I do have the proper knowledge and experience that I can work with people that have these severe eating disorders and I can help. I'm not going to be part of the problem. I'm going to be the solution. And the best way to do that is when you have your students come in, your interns come in and work with you, teach them to be specialists, teach them how to pursue that knowledge so that they become the expert in the room on that particular condition. I think people acting under illusion are under delusion to people watching in illusion. Cerisi and Norton, definitely. Research is showing so much of our health is related to our genetics. Weight is a complicated subject due to various contributing factors, i.e., medical conditions. Stuffed banana, Happy New Year. An illusion would be believing in, say, the American dream, or that everything happens for a reason, more non-specific, whereas a delusion is specific, such as, I am the Messiah. Okay, so I can definitely appreciate exactly what you said there. I'm with you. My knee-jerk reaction is the illusion of the American dream. I don't think that is an illusion. I think there are many, 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 many people who were raised by the American dream, and that was that the American dream is part of their worldview, and they see it as attainable. So that's number one. But everything happens for a reason. Is that an illusion? I don't think that. I'm not sure that that's an illusion. When I think of illusion, I think of basically bringing someone to a point of believing something that could be real is real. Like if you're in the desert and you see an oasis, palm trees and such, then you say to yourself, aha, there's water there. So that could be true. They're real. There are oases in the desert. But if you've been out in the desert and you're dehydrated and you're having hallucinations, that is an illusion. That tree, that oasis is not real. Your mind is saying, I want to believe this so desperately that I'm going to convince myself that I can see something that's not really there at all. Correct? So an illusion is that there is something there that is tricking you in terms of your sensory input. It's tricking you to believe something that could be is actually there, but it's not. What about like on a hot day, right above the asphalt on the highway, you'll see these shimmering kind of looks like water, right? Sometimes you can look at it hard enough that it can look like water. But is it water? No, it's just heat rising up off of the asphalt. So it's an illusion is a sensory problem or a sensory factor where you are experiencing something in terms of what you're perceiving. You're perceiving something that could be real, but it is in fact not real. And I do know that, there's people that talk about like this illusion of family or friends type of closeness and whatnot. And in fact, probably our Western culture has made a lot of money feeding this illusion of family cohesiveness or friend cohesiveness. In this newest movie that was put out by Barack and Michelle Obama, they're the producers on it. They, in one part, there's the little girl in the movie. She's a Friends, the movie, the sitcom Friends. She's like a Friends addict. And so she knows everything about Friends and followed it faithfully. And she is trying to see the last episode of Friends. She's trying to see it, but the end of the world happens. So she doesn't get to see it. Okay. Well, in this movie, they say something, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it says something about like believing in something that never was, talking about people really loving the sitcom Friends and really enjoying it. Believing in that so much, but it was never a real thing. And I thought to myself, how pessimistic, how sad is that people could look at this sitcom Friends, see this group of people that became friends. I think some of them became friends as kids, but then the larger group kind of all met up and gelled in college and then stayed together through young adult years. Got educated, got their college degrees, went on, had careers and whatnot. How pessimistic are you to look at that and say, this isn't real? This sitcom about a group of friends from childhood all the way through college, all the way to careers and children and family. That's not real. That doesn't happen. How sad that we've ended up in that place in our culture in 2024. Because I'm going to tell you, not only was that my experience, my own experience, but lots of people have had that experience. My very best friend from childhood, if I picked up the phone today and said, hey, I'm having a problem, can I come to your house for a month? Not only would she say, absolutely, come on, but when I got there, she'd have my bedroom all fixed out in my favorite colors and my favorite snacks in the pantry. And vice versa. If she called and said, I need a plane ticket for X, Y, and Z, I'd be on the phone getting her a plane ticket. So there are those relationships and those friendships are very real. They're not an illusion. And one of the reasons I think that Friends was so popular and it was so long running is that people could see themselves in it. They liked it because it was real to them. And a lot of people, there's this one movie that, you know, me and my friend, best friend, when we get together, that's the movie we watch every time. I don't ever watch the movie unless I'm with her. So it is a real thing. Let me see what y'all are saying about emotionally neglectful relationships. Oh, it would be great to hear you do a video on unhealthy relationships and how to protect yourself from them. Absolutely. Hey, Miss Catherine, Happy New Year. I think people acting under illusion are under delusion to people watching in illusion. You're confusing illusion and delusion, Naren Thacker. Illusion. Okay, so illusion is a sensory perceptual experience. It's a neurological thing. Okay. Delusion is one's own perception of their either a relationship or a station in life, who they think they are. A delusion is that you are tricking yourself not to embrace your own life with truth, with not living an authentic. So, there's the answer. So the opposite of delusion is authenticity. That's the difference. Illusion it's a trick. It's the brain is your mind is playing a perceptual trick on you. Those are two different things. You can't put them in the same sentence. Oh, calm in the case chaos said, I guess I could provide more education to therapists and professors if I wasn't so busy treating clients. Agreed. Absolutely. Yes, as if saying true relationships are superficial and not meaningful. Maybe that's just the Obamas' personal feelings from their own experiences. Yeah, and I wondered that too, Nancy. Who, where, in hold on just a second too. Let me say this. So the Obamas were the producers. They put up the cash for it for the project. It's a great movie. It's got Julia Roberts in it. It's kind of weird, kind of cerebral type of movie. Um, but whoever it was that added this friends element to the movie, and we don't, it wasn't the Obamas, I'm sure, but whomever it was that added that, um, it would be interesting to know how they explain themselves, right? Also, here's another one that's very similar to that. What about the Budweiser Christmas commercials? The Budweiser Christmas commercials, there were a lot of people that were angered by those commercials and said they were not real or whatnot. Um, the truth is that they were real. Maybe they're not real for everyone, not for every single person, but have you ever been able to make a product that was only for one group of people? That's not realistic. It's not possible. But for the clientele of Budweiser, it was very realistic. The idea that there's a family home where the aging mom and dad will live forever and ever, pass the land and the house down to the next kid who wants to work the land and whatnot. Um, Other kids going off to college or having careers in another city, coming home, everybody coming home for Christmas, all the kids descending back on the family home. That's reality. That was my reality. That was my family's reality. Um, so it was very the old Budweiser commercials with you know, the sun coming in the middle of the night and the little sister waking up and excited to see him and them eating cookies under the Christmas tree and all that. Those are real. Those were real. And one of the reasons that they were so dramatically successful is so many people really connected with that experience. It was their reality and they connected with it. I think it's one of the reasons why the box office is failing so dramatically now. For a little while, they were able to go back and take previous childhood movies and remake them, but they remade them in a way that is for the fringe, for the smaller portion of the society. And they forgot that the larger portion of society is what's paying the bills. And so nobody's going to the movies anymore. Nobody goes to the movies now. The big like superhero movies that were from many people's childhoods, those are carrying the production companies, I believe, my opinion. I think those big, huge blockbusters, but it's nearly impossible to find just kind of a mid-level movie that's enjoyable. They're just not making them. The mid-level stuff is just weird, offensive, uh, really heavily into horror or mental illness, like really violent, criminally insane kind of stuff. And most people just don't identify with that. And they're not going to watch it. They're not. So everything comes full circle. It'll all come back around again. So I've been through 4 housekeepers. Oh, Zelda, I'm so sorry. I paid 2 times minimum wage. They don't want to follow my wants. Don't want my furniture polished when the floors are dirty. I'm so sorry. Because they're taking the path of least resistance, Zelda, because they don't want to work. That's why they won't do what you're asking them to do. They don't want to work. Do you want a suggestion? Here's the way I would handle it, because I'm a weird psychologist. I would make a list. And I would say, when you mop the floors, this is how much money you make. And when you polish the furniture, this is how much money you make. And when you unload my dishwasher, here's how much money you don't make. I would break down each individual task. So that way the person who's working for you can look at it and go, ooh, I can see that sweeping and mopping the floors, that's the money maker. So I'm not going to waste my time unloading the dishwasher. It's going to give me $2. I need to make that $50 or that $60 mopping the floors. That's how I do it, Zelda, because I'm a weird psychologist. Agreed. Yeah, Zelda, I cannot tell you how many business owners I have talked to that have said they cannot find anyone to answer the phones who can figure out how to get to work on time. They can't get to work on time. They stay gone from lunch for an additional hour and then laugh about it when they come in. They leave early. People are really, if you're a business owner, you are reaping the benefits of the parenting that says, I'm going to worship my child simply because they exist, and I'm never going to hold them accountable and never make them learn how to do their own way. Yep. You got to people are not going to magically care about their work. They have to be taught that work is valuable. It's valuable for money, but it is also very valuable for intrinsic reward. Parents really love their kids, and that's why they've made this big mistake of just going to worship you because you exist. I'm not going to expect anything out of you. I'm not going to ask you to behave in a certain way. I'm not going to ask you to pick up your toys and clean up your room. I love you too much for that. That is not you're not being a good parent when you do that. You are harming your child's future ability to take care of themselves. The other mistake is focusing on external rewards like computer time and video games, and you're neglecting getting them to focus on how good it feels when their playroom is clean, how good it feels when they help mom or help dad do something. We got to get back to some of that. It's really important. My 16-year-old can't stand me right now. I'm okay with that. Jennifer. I don't know the single 16-year-old that is happy with their parents. Because when you're 16, you're experiencing the natural biological push to separate and go out into the world and be your own person. And parents are going, but you're not ready to do that. You can't remember to brush your teeth. You're not ready to go out in the world and protect yourself. So it makes for a very chaotic period in time. Hey, Peggy Frazee. I got a hold of an old home economic book from high school after I graduated from college. That's how I learned to clean up after myself and my husband and later my children. Congratulations, Peggy. And you're right. We're not teaching our kids that. Look, as soon as a child is able to go get a toy, that's the cue right there to teach your kid to also clean up. If they can go get the toy, they can also put the toy away, right? So make cleanup part of playtime, that it all goes together. And then as they grow up, they naturally, do it. And you should teach your kids how to do the wash. Ask Peggy Frazee. You do need to teach them how to separate the colors from the whites and how much soap to use in the washing machine. And if you don't move your clothes over, they sour and smell. Teach them how to buy groceries and to be aware of the cost, which dishes are less money, which food in the grocery store is more expensive. You got to teach them that before they ever get to high school. Don't wait for them. I don't know how many kids go to college and their parents, we're going to buy them a house. It'll be an investment house for us. We're going to buy our kid a house and they can get roommates and it'll be wonderful. Okay, but does your child know how to wash their clothes? You're going to buy them an expensive house to live in. They're going to rent out rooms to their friends, but do they know how to go to the grocery store with $100 and buy enough groceries for a week? Do they know how to do that? So parents love their kids. They do. They want to do anything a parent does is because they believe that it is good for their child. But be a little bit more thoughtful about what is this saying to this child. So I'm kind of cringing right now when I go out and see so many little 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old kids at a basketball game who are sitting there with an iPad. They're like this in their iPad. There's a basketball game happening out on the floor. There's other little kids running and chasing each other and playing. And then you'll see this one little kid with an iPad just immersed in this, electronic illusion. May not be healthy to be on the electronics so many hours in a day when you've got people like Elon Musk and the Facebook guy, these big computer guru people, they don't give the electronics to their kids. They're not allowing their own children to use these products that they're shoving down the throats of our children. You might want to ask yourself why. All right. I pulled out the rolling dog cage, was shocked finding piles of dog hair unvacuumed for months. Young people are clueless. My son was 10 when he learned to wash clothes and bedding. Yeah. All right. And I don't mean turn your child into a slave. I mean, get your child to do these things with you and have fun while you're doing it. Right? Enjoy the time together. Make it a fun thing. Cleaning up can be just as fun as getting the toys and things out. So make it a good time. You should be laughing and having fun with your children, not just giving them anything they want. All right. I'm going to get down off that soapbox. My goodness. I don't know how we got there. All right. So this live has been an hour and a half. And so I need to end it because you know how YouTube is. I am thinking about kind of getting back into the whole Koberger Idaho 4 situation. I know that I want to say this before I do this. There are channels that are doing a great job with the Koberger information. Truth and Transparency, Lana's channel's great. Thou Shalt Not Kill is a great channel. He doesn't come on quite as much as he used to, but so I'm probably going to get into it again and start covering it more because we're kind of, we're gearing up for the trial. We're also gearing up for Chad Daybell. Obviously that's going to be a huge case for our channel. So that one I'm definitely going to be in. Lori Vallow, of course. But I think I'm going to re-enter Koberger. And the other one that I've been thinking about, I know you guys are going to be really shocked, kind of thinking about Summer Wells. Summer Wells case has turned into pardon my French here, it is a shit show. It is the coverage on Summer Wells has turned into 100% trauma. Right? That's it. And I think that's a real shame. I think the content for Summer Wells needs to come back to the little girl, the fact that she's missing and hasn't been found, and the facts of the case. And it's turned into a whole bunch of personalities fighting at one another. And it breaks my heart because Summer Wells has been turned into a tool. She's been turned into a commodity. And it should not ever be that way for any child, but especially for a kid who was so invisible in life. It's just terrible. It's just awful. So I'm not sure I'm going to. And if you are part of the whole Summer Wells community, get back to the case and don't use her as a tool to hurt each other. It's terrible. It's just terrible. There's so much fact in the Summer Wells case. It's so important for people to know. For example, I heard this conversation the other night. Why does it matter? This was the situation. Why does it matter that Don Wells sexually assaulted his little sister and maybe was it like a niece or something, right? When they were 5, 6, 7 years old. Why does that matter? That was 30, 40 years ago. What does that have to do with the disappearance of Summer Wells? Well, I'll tell you why it matters. Because we have got mountains of evidence that show, and a sex offender will tell you this. People that abuse children under the age of 9, they will tell you, you're not going to stop me. I don't want to do this. I know I'm hurting someone, but there's something in my core that I need to do this, and I'm going to. There have been people in prison and they were getting paroled, and they are saying to their parole board, do not release me. Don't do it, because the next time I may end up getting the death penalty. Don't release me. Or I've heard this argument with the parole board. I want chemical castration. I want chemical castration. Maybe that will stop me. Do we have research? Yes. They did try chemical castration. Did it work? No, because it's not about sexual excitation. It's about control and power. So someone who's doing this to a 5-year-old 30 years ago, not once, but to a couple of kids in that age range 30 years ago, yes, they're probably doing it now, just using empirical research. Is that what happened? Is it that CPS was coming to take the kids, and when they took Summer, she was going to talk? It's terrible. That is so important to talk about. But nobody's talking about it because they use her to attack each other in this drama community thing. All right. Hey, Lady Rebel. Happy New Year, my friend. How are you? Yeah, I really do want to do. Oh, the other channel doing Koberger, True Crime Circus, Strip Drop. Sometimes he goes a little over the top. He definitely has a flair for the dramatic, obviously. That's why we all love him. But I do think he is investing a great amount of time looking for information. And he does have a flair for the dramatic. He does sort of kind of suggest some things that might not be, but great coverage. Great coverage. So if you haven't been watching Drip Drop, it is true crime circus. And he dresses up, it's very dramatic, scary, Halloweenish kind of thing, but the information is very good. Summer Wells case, I would focus on what happened at the swimming hole. 100%, Martin. Just the swimming hole the day at the horse pond. Wow, right? that video, I'm going to say this, that video of Hunter coming into the water and Summer is there in the water, she moves away from him. She looks like she's afraid of him. And I think he looks ominous. Something, that's the key right there. That's the key. I agree, Martin. Oh, I'm glad that you have beautiful nails, Lady Rebel. Good. Very nice. Do you think there are tunnels? I know there are tunnels, Kathy. The tunnels are for a certainty. And the reason that I say I know for a fact there are tunnels is because there's a university there, and universities do, in fact, put the majority of their plumbing and computer systems and all of that. Usually it is down under, and the tunnels are there from building to building. The piping, it makes it easier for them to repair anything that might go wrong. So yeah, no doubt the tunnels are there, no doubt. Now the question is, what, this is an area where ice and snow, sub-zero freezing temperatures are the norm, not the exception. When they were making roads and when they were building up the college and the town and whatnot, how much did they put underground? And often a lot of it is underground because that saves it from the sub-zero freezing temperatures, right? Also drainage from a great deal of snow runoff where it really doesn't have anywhere to go. That becomes an issue in terms of the civil engineering of the above ground structures. So yeah, there's no doubt there's tunnels. There's no question about it. But the question is, are the tunnels there, including where the fraternity row is? I would think that would be a bit unusual because fraternity row is not typically part of the university. It's usually independent. I'm talking about the houses. And why would the tunnel include 1122 Queen Street house? I know they call it King Road, but it's technically Queen. I don't know, but it is a fact that the president of the university, who has made some highly, highly questionable decisions, he lived in 1122. He and his family lived there. And he's clearly emotionally attached and identifies with the college. And even his house now looks directly at the 1122 house. So is there some kind of weird psychological connection problem that he's having with this 1122? I don't know, but I will tell you this: in terms of the house and the tunnels and whatnot, Kathy, the door in the storage bedroom across from Bethany's, that bookshelf, there is what looks like a door. It looks like hardware. You can look the hardware up right now today. They use that particular hardware with Murphy beds or with hidden doorways, right? And lots of homes have hidden doorways, lots of them. That is not strange or unusual. There's plenty of people that have bought a house in the suburbs and realized, oh, look, there's a hidden room in here. It's probably somebody's office or whatever. So the hardware is consistent with a hidden room. Why in the world would the prosecution and the defense keep going back into the house if not, but they said, wait a minute, we missed that hardware on that wall. Is it actually a room? And if it is, what in the world is there? So did they watch Drip Drop's video and then go back and go into the hidden room and find something in the hidden room, or did it open up to tunnels? You don't really know, but for sure, no question about it, That is hardware opening to something. And again, the question is, what's the room? And after all this happens, then the president of the university does exactly what 2 weeks before he said he was not going to do, which was to level the house. He said, no, 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 we'll wait. We won't level it. We'll wait until after the trial. Okay, great. So then Drip Drop does a video and says, hey, look at this. This is a hardware for hidden door. And then 2 weeks later, house is being leveled. Why, president of the university? Do you know what was in that room? Is that a room you played in when you were a little kid? Some questions. I'm talking about questions, big ones. But yes, the hardware is real. You can see it and you can find where it's being sold or some variation of it today. And there are, in fact, tunnels. It's a common thing for a university or hospital to have things below ground, especially in sub-zero, environments. The question is, would it go that far? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. But I want to know what was in that hidden room because it was there. And I think that's why they went back into the house. I think they went back in to see, can we open this door? That's what I think. And clearly they did open the door because they leveled the house and destroyed any evidence of the room. All right. I was shocked to learn the facts and home ownership and real estate here in Oregon and major gas pipelines. What do you mean major gas pipelines? Talking about houses that are built on top of gas pipelines? They don't do that anymore. It's illegal to do that. Why is it you only on the dirt down for 50 feet or more or less? Because there's major gas lines that most people are unaware of. Look at the deed to your home to see what you actually own. Yeah, absolutely. But if you've got a house built like in the last probably at least 20 years, maybe even 30 years, you're not going to be on top of the gas line. They have like when they're building housing subdivisions and stuff, they have to hire someone who has very specific certification on these metal pipelines, where they can go and how do you route using plastic pipelines, how do you route them into the individual homes for safety? Yeah. In the Northwest. Okay. All right. We are now going on 2 hours, people. So this definitely today was different than our usual fare, but I think it's very interesting information, right? It's pretty cool. If you're going to set a goal or a resolution, don't tell people because it reduces the chance that you're going to achieve that goal. Instead, get you a notebook and use what are called SMART goals. And you can get on the Google and just put in SMART goals and it'll teach you everything you need to know about how to set SMART goals. Okay. All right. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for listening to me. I thought it was going to be incredibly boring, but I had a good time and I hope you at least got a little bit of something from the discussion. And I think we'll, kind of try to jump back into some true crime and see how that goes because I miss you guys. All right. Y'all have a wonderful day. Don't forget your cabbage and black-eyed peas. And I will talk with you tomorrow. All right. Thanks so much for being here. Bye, everybody.